Painting my rims and just so happened to get a nice big fatty around the edge. Very easy to do when you're painting your rims. So I got this big fat run. I've wiped it to try and get it to dry a little bit faster. And I'm going to show you guys how to touch this stuff up. In fact, I got a couple because it's really hard to paint these angles of these wheels. And I'm going to run over this real quick and attempt to fix this real quick. I did put accelerator in this, so it's pretty dry right now. But it's only been a short period of time since I painted it, so literally you should wait a while before you do this. And if you do paint it over it really fresh, you definitely need to use a really fine sandpaper, like 800 grit or more, to smooth this out. So I'm going to go ahead and knock these down with a little bit of heavy grit sandpaper just to smooth them out, and then I'm going to hit them with some fine grit sandpaper, and then I'm going to do a blend spray on them just to touch them up, and then they'll be done. So since it's a single stage, that's what I had laying around, so that's what I want to use. If it's a two stage, it'd be much easier. You could just sand this out and before you put your clear on, and just put your clear on. Or if you can actually do this same method with clear. So I'll show you this little method to fix your runs while it's still masked off. You can't really polish in there, obviously. Okay, I'm not going to polish that. There's no way to do that. So real quick, the first thing I did is take some 240 film that I had laying around. Just going to knock down the run just to get the tips off of it. And because it's in a corner, there's no way you're going to get that with a razor blade. So a couple of these turned out pretty good. So the finish is dry to touch, but it's still just a hair sticky. You should wait till it's a little bit longer dry. I got a couple little corner sags in here, but it doesn't look bad. This one's not. I'm not going to call this one bad. I'll say it's okay. Funny thing is about rims, when you put the tires on them and they're down so low, usually you don't see the flaws very well. So a lot of times people are really picky about their rims when they're painting them, because you're painting them from right here. But when you put them on the car, you don't really see anything because they're down so low. So there's some degree of flaw that I will let go on rims that I might not let go if it was like up here. Okay, because it's something down low that when you put the tires on and everything else, the hubcap, it kind of offsets a lot of that stuff so you don't see it. But these ones here, I had a run on each one. And the reason I had runs is because what I did is I let my first coat dry too much. So just again, I might have put this in other videos. When do you recoat real quick? Let's go over that since we're playing around with this stuff. Is okay, you spray the first coat of finish, and if you can smear your finger and not have a string. So if you can touch, I usually touch right here on this surface. If you can smear it and not have a string, it's not ready to be recoated. If you can touch it and your finger sticks and it lifts back up and you have a little tiny bit of a string, that's the perfect time to recoat. If you can touch it and your finger just kind of sticks to it a little bit, it's kind of sticky feeling, you waited too long. So those are if you stick to those set of rules, because you need your next coat to flow into your first coat, not fight you on the second one. So while I was trying to bury it, of course, burying this edge is almost impossible. Usually what happens is you just end up getting too much on this edge because you can't really spray at this perfect angle to get in these corners. So rims are actually really hard to paint. So anyway, I'll just get these all fixed up. It'll only take me a minute or two. So my video's only paused for so long, so you can imagine this isn't taking me much longer than what the video is. So these are pretty fresh still. If you're on the edge like this, you could possibly wrinkle the paint by recoating it before it's completely catalyzed. But I think I'm right at the edge, so I'm going to go for it. My pot is still, right there. If you really want to accelerate the paint to dry, you can use a heat gun and just heat up the surface. As long as the solvents are out of it, because if the solvents are still in there, you might have a fire. So just keep that in mind. But you can use a heat gun and get that surface really hot and then cool it twice. So get it really hot once, let it cool down, get it really hot again, let it cool down, and then you're probably good to go. But if it is too fresh, you could have a wrinkle situation, and those are no fun. But I'm just going to go ahead and what I'm going to do to compensate for that so I don't have a wrinkle is not bury it. If I bury it right now, I could probably have a wrinkle situation. And if I put it on a nice light coat and a lot of reducer, that's all I need to really do anyway. So we can either shoot the whole rim section again, which is so small, you could do that easily, or you could do something called add color blender, universal color blender. And so what you want to do is shoot your first coat over just the area that you color sanded. This is color sand. I've finished out with 500. It's really not smooth enough. It should be about 800. Okay, with it being this fresh. So hopefully that's not an issue. But just go ahead and put a real light coat with just regular reducer over just the part where you just sanded to get rid of the sanding scratches and coverage. Like that's, I knocked through right into the black here. So I gotta make sure that that's covered up. And then what I'll do is shoot over the whole area and out further with just with about 50% color, universal color blender. And what that will do is help it melt into the other finish, and you won't see it. You won't see the spray edges where you stop spraying. So if you stop spraying right here and here, then when you spray all the way out to here, it will get rid of that spray edge. So that's how you do it on a regular panel. If you have a small run, you want to just fix it real quick while it's still masked off. I'm just telling you this stuff because, I mean, I could just respray this whole rim, but I'm just telling you because you might have a situation where you want to try this on a panel, like you got a little spot on a door edge, a little run, and you go, damn, let it dry, heat gun it, sand it out while it's still masked off, and just if you depend, then shoot it with a little bit of paint once, and then shoot it with a little bit of color blender. Let's take a look at how this works out. Alright, so I real quick clarify, I already shot some paint on here, what I'm talking about by light coats. So if your paint's really fresh, okay, I just painted this an hour ago, it just barely went off. I've got single stage urethane, I had accelerator in the finish. So this is, if you didn't use accelerator the first time, this is when you want to use your accelerator, okay, because you want your paint. So you want the new paint that you shot on to be extra thin with reducer, really light coats, and this is when you want to have your accelerator on. And the whole purpose is you want that new bit of paint to dry before it starts to react with the old paint, with the paint underneath. It's not old, you just did it. Okay, so you don't want to use acetone as a reducer ever, especially when doing this. You want to use regular fast reducer, not slow reducer, very fast reducer. The whole idea is to get that paint to dry before it reacts with the other stuff. It's because I just painted this and it's super fresh. I want it to melt in but not dry, but not react. You follow me? That's the concept. What you're trying to do, you're trying to overlay something over the top and get it to melt in but not dry. Now, because this is so fresh, I'm probably not even going to need to use any blending reducer because it doesn't look like there's any dry spots around it. So I'm probably just not going to use it. But have some of that on hand. Let's say you're painting your car and you've got a little dry spot somewhere, and you're all done spraying, and you go, man, I can't, you see a little dry spot. So what you can do is you can have some of that universal color blender. You can add it, 50% or so, sometimes 100% with your paint. There's no. Sometimes just go over it with just that stuff alone. Usually I go 50% and then 100%. So I'll take 50%, just shoot over just the dry spot, and then take 100% universal color blender, and I'll just a duster, man, just like that. And then you'll just watch it melt and flow out and go away. The dry spot will be gone. So that's how you fix a run right at the last minute. Looks like I might have got a heavy edge around here. I'm okay with that. But pretty much most of the run's gone. I'm going to recoat this one more time. I'm going to put 2 to 3 light coats over the area that I had runs. And then I'm just going to just shoot the whole rim because it's just faster than trying to blend it out. But I'm telling you guys, because if you had a little sag in a door, that's how you fix it. Right there. You can be still, I can just dried an hour, a couple hours ago. And as long as you get your new paint to dry before it gets a chance to react. So if you bury it, it's going to be on there too thick and it's going to take more time to dry, so it's going to react with what's underneath. If you hit it lightly, then it doesn't have a chance to react with what's underneath and it lays over the surface. You see, that's the whole purpose, what you're trying to do. But you are on the edge. You could have a wrinkle situation. You could create one. So it's, these are little things that guys in the business do all the time that they just know. And I'm not in the business anymore, but I just know it from being in the business before. So I'm just sharing it with you guys. All right, I'll talk to you in the next video.